Okay, so welcome to Let's Talk Business podcast with Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, everyone. And welcome Miss Leandra, because she's going to be our guest today. So my name is Tabitha Barron, and I am your host.
Well, good morning, Tabitha.
Good morning.
Good morning, radio or podcast land. Which one we got?
Right, whichever works,
Yeah.
listeners.
Well,
So first we want to thank our sponsors, right?
Yes.
So we want to thank Southwest Airlines, our proud air travel sponsor of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. And we also want to thank Primacor Solutions, Business Solutions. Okay?
yes, great, fantastic.
So today we're going to talk about breaking the assumptions.
Yes.
Oh man, so there's a lot of assumptions that we all make as business owners,
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, and just people in general. And so I know that there were three that we wanted to make sure that we talked about today.
Right.
So one is, okay, so we're going to start and say that the first one we're going to talk about is when I start a business, I do not have to work as hard and as much.
Well, I kind of think we want to go back to small business.
So what is a small business?
Yes. What is a small business? What's your definition
Oh yeah,
of
let's do
being
that.
a small business? Because the word small has a quantity to it, right?
Right, and it's also seen as very negative, right? So when people talk about being small, they think, oh, because I'm small, this is why no one wants to work with me, or being small is a problem, right?
Well, yeah, small again. You either want, you want big or you want small. That means there is a measurable difference
Right.
between the two. So what was shocking to me, Tabitha, when I learned the definition
Okay.
of small business that's put out by the Small Business Administration, who was enacted in what we say 1953, to help businesses that they considered were the backbone of our economy. And what they said a small business was, Tabitha, I think you have
Yes.
something.
So I have a definition. So what is the SBA's definition of small business and why? So depending on the industry, a small business could be defined as business with a maximum of 250 employees or a maximum of 1,500 employees. They're privately owned corporations, partnerships, or sole proprietorships that have less revenue than larger businesses.
Okay. So
Simple.
So they're very, very similar, but there's another definition that adds to that in terms of the funding. The money. You in some industries, 500 employees,
Mm-hmm.
less than 30 million in annual revenue.
Really,
Would
30
you-
million.
Would you call that small?
I wouldn't say 30 million is small. So,
No. So it's very subjective
right.
when we talk about small business. So just because you're a small business does not mean you cannot make money,
This is true.
and lots of money.
This is very true. So here I pulled up the definition for the IRS. So what is the IRS definition of a small business? Internal revenue standard is 500 employees or less generally, 50 employees or less, dependent on individual tax law statutes. That's what they said.
Yeah. So is your business small?
So all businesses start off small.
Every business starts.
starts off small.
And I would say small business are usually fall into the definition of privately owned.
Right. Most of them, as a small business owner, before the IPO or before we make it to the stock exchange,
Right.
we will be considered small. But
Yeah,
right
considered
before,
small.
Right.
Because you're a private owner, whether it's 10 owners or 100 owners, you're not the masses.
Right.
So that puts you into a public market.
But I think it's important to note that even though you're small, this country is built off of small businesses. So everyone has to start somewhere. So as a small business, it's probably one of the things that we need a mindset shift that we have to make on our own as entrepreneurs or as small business owners, to say that just because I'm small today doesn't mean I'll be small forever.
Well, Tabitha, for me, just because I'm doing this and I'm making this amount of money today.
Mm-hmm.
I am growing my business
Right.
to a place where, I often share with members that business has 3 levels,
Okay.
or let's just say three areas that they want to move to,
Mm-hmm.
and that is surviving. And you know what happens when you're surviving? All the money that you have could be millions.
Yes.
And all the time that you have is being put into that business.
Correct.
Second phase, we'll call them phases, is thriving.
Mm-hmm.
You're now making money, and you have a little more time.
Right.
And the third phase is that you are now flourishing
Yes.
because you have more money. Or matter of fact, you have money
You have money.
coming.
Period.
You have money coming in, and that allows you to have more time to do the things that you want to do.
Right.
So, small is something that I would ask our members to move the word small from their consciousness or their subconsciousness, okay? And you're in business.
Right.
And you have a goal. And that goal is based on how much money
Mm-hmm.
you want to make. Well, number one, the service that you provide.
Okay.
Your market. Who's your market? And it's everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody is. So the market is open. So you can have like a market. You can market to anybody and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But when you first start off, it's extremely important to know who you want to target as your early adopters.
Right.
Are the ones who will be with you for a longer period of time. Those ones who believe in you before the bigger businesses get a hold of you.
And the bigger business I'm going to go out on a limb and say most of your big business are public businesses.
Yes.
Okay, very few are mega businesses that are privately owned.
That is true.
And that's one of the reasons for that. Also for the Small Business Administration is to help those businesses who are starting to grow.
Yeah, to get to a thriving point.
Yeah, to grow. So you have to start off somewhere. So SBA, the Small Business Administration, had to put some kind of cap or criteria to what that means in order for them to fulfill their mission of helping businesses who come into play.
Right.
So if you starting a business, there's help out there to help you grow. So you got to be thinking growth. You can't be thinking small.
Right. So the importance of understanding the definition of small business is why the discussion has come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of people are under the impression or understanding there's a misconception to small business,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually hurts us in the long run because there are services and resources available to us as small business owners to be able to access. But unless we truly understand the definition of small business and how we fit into our industries or into the definition of the ones who hold the resources, is the reason why it's important for us to at least have that conversation.
Good point. Think in terms of yourself as going into business. Not that you are a small business,
Right.
but the definition of where you are at any given point in time determines the type of services
Yes.
that are out there that are available to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to meet that criteria.
Yes.
And if you know what that criteria is, again, Tabitha,
Yeah.
you wouldn't consider yourself small.
Right.
If I'm pulling in $30 million a
Well,
year
yeah.
or $20 million a year, I don't have a small business.
Right.
I have a business. And this is how we have to think in terms of getting away from the word. We understand what small is now.
Right.
It's used to determine where an individual business is at any one given time.
Right.
And especially if you're going after assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're pulling in 30 million, you may not need, or 20 million, you may not need assistance.
Right.
Or you may need money.
But in order to get there, you really do need help. So
Right.
it's probably very beneficial for entrepreneurs are smaller businesses or ones that are just
Well,
starting.
we trying to get
Let's
away
rid of
from that
small,
word
right?
small.
So we're
Yes.
going to talk about you're in business, but you should. So I would always encourage people to try to find a circle, and that's going to be the chamber or another mentorship program that you're comfortable with that will actually help you to define who you are and how you're going to get there. Because you can be in business, but when you're going into businesses, you should not want to be all by yourself all the time.
No, you can't do.
You can't do it by yourself.
You can't even breathe by yourself. Seriously,
No, right?
You have to be someplace where the air is.
Right.
And if you're in a building, like where we are right now, if the air is cut off,
yeah, we're not gonna be in there long.
No, so we need some help. We're not on this planet alone, and so for people to help us and people to help us grow, we have to start somewhere.
Right.
So when you first start, that is a start.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you smile.
Right.
Because that's a definition that keeps us thinking on a small level. No, you're in business and you want to grow. You got to survive it. So there are services that are available to you, and for them to make it, to justify why it's available to you, is they use the term, you're small.
Right.
So we're going to help you compete with the big boy, against the big boy. So we got to make sure that you fit in this particular little slot in order for us to justify why we're going to help you.
This is true. Okay, so that being said, so we should enter into something like that that's going to help us so that we become aware of where we are in position.
Yes.
But then it leads us to the second assumption. The second assumption being the free ride.
Well, no, the second assumption is I don't have to work as hard.
Well, yeah, but that's true. Yes, I don't have to work as hard when I start my business.
Because that's the biggest assumption.
Yeah.
I think once we assuming that, okay, I'm starting a business and it's small.
Yes.
You know, I'm a little fish in a big old pond, and they out there, all the big fish and the barracudas and and the whales and the sharks gonna eat me.
Right.
No, you're a shark.
Right.
In your mind.
Yes.
You're a whale in your thinking. You're thinking of growth and being big. So you don't buy into the word small is basically what we're trying to say. Don't buy into that word. Now, like you said, Tabitha, now we're back to, okay, you started a business.
Right.
Now
I don't have to work as hard, and I don't have to work as many hours. But there's been many, many quotes that have actually said, the entrepreneurs are, you've got to be a very special person to do that, but you will leave a 40-hour-a-week job to go and work 80 hours a week with no pay.
Exactly. And it's
and everybody thinks it's a joke, right? But ultimately,
it sounds plumb crazy.
It does.
Why would you do that?
But and a lot of people jump into that and they're like, okay, so I'm gonna go out here and make my own business because I don't want to work for him no more. I don't want to work for her no more. I can do it better for myself, right?
I'm worth more.
Right. But then when you get into it, you're like, holy crap! I have to do all of this, and then I'm not making as much as a consistent paycheck.
Well, that's where I think we come in, Tabitha, with business new owners see it to be very easy.
Yes, and not
because
easy.
they looking at surrounding. They're getting paid to do one thing, and they see everybody else being paid to do one thing. So have no clue as to why you got 10 people in the same department with you.
Right.
Because that's each person, that's 10 hours per hour, right? 10 people per hour. And so they are working that time frame. So now when you are starting your own business, you got to make up for all those hours, those people. And so, like I said, we got 10 people working in a department. We can break it down to 5 people working in a department. Each one of those 5 people are working how many hours that day?
I know.
8
hours a day.
So that's 40 hours
That's
on that
correct.
day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you multiply that times 5. What is that? 200.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 200 hours a week?
Mm-hmm.
Although we physically don't have 200 hours in a week, we do have what? What do we have in a week? 40 hours.
Right, but I think that is the point is that that there are 5 people doing 5 different tasks
Uh-huh.
in one department, and then when you
Exactly.
start your business, you are one person
Mm-hmm.
in all departments,
Exactly.
and so that means sales, marketing,
Exactly.
HR,
Exactly.
finance. It's everything.
It is.
And so when people when you jump into it and you're like, oh, I can do that, it'll be okay. And or they do consulting companies.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that, it'll be okay.
Mhm.
But then it becomes a juggling act.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do not take into consideration what it takes to keep the business up and running
Right.
and afloat.
There is one key to when I start my business, I don't have to work as hard.
Mm-hmm.
I can take long lunches.
Yeah, no.
I don't have to I don't have to be accountable in the mornings.
Nope.
I can just take off when I get ready. We quickly find that the money doesn't allow that
Right.
because we're in survival stage.
Mm-hmm.
So now in order for us to get the money coming in, we got to do all those jobs that you were
Right.
saying.
Yep.
And so the key is hire people.
Yeah.
If you don't want to work a 200-hour week, you hire somebody to do some of the work.
Right.
So a lot of times being in our minds using the word small business,
Right.
we do not capture the concept of hiring people because we are small.
Yeah. But I think that's where business community comes in at.
Mhm.
That's where mentorship comes in
Mhm.
at. And that, I mean, building a circle around you that says, hey, even though I may not be able to hire all these people, I can at least kind of work with others who will be able to participate or support the business.
That's good. You have to have a network.
Mm-hmm.
The chamber does provide a network to its members. And within that network, there's also information.
Yes.
There's also development and tools and connections and strategic partners. So going back to the small business owner, now that I'm in my business, I don't have to work as hard because what you thought you saw
Yes.
was your job
Yep.
that you did.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you're going into business, the reason we have SBA, the reason we have lenders is because now you have to borrow money to operate a business. And most of the time we leave out employees.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, I think that too. One of the other things I noticed is even when I talk to other business owners, they are like, oh well, I have to be able to pay them $12 an hour.
Yeah, well.
And I was like, cool, you're gonna pay them $12 an hour, but there's other things that are all encompassing in the salary.
Well,
and I think people don't recognize that, right?
well, that's true. But the biggest thing is, you're going to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to planning.
Right.
If you're not planning your business, putting a plan together,
Right.
so that your business can operate, then you will have this assumption.
Yeah.
I'm not going to work as hard because you don't even have a clue as to how a business grows from survival to thriving to flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so which means it says if you're going to start a business, have a business plan to know what is required before you assume
Right.
I'm not going to work
Not gonna work as hard.
as hard.
Correct.
Okay, and when you have that plan together, you will then know how many people you need
Mm-hmm.
to do certain things. Those
Right.
people become a part of a payroll because you came from that environment. I don't think that one business owner who says I want to go to work for myself comes from an environment where they were one man employee.
No, I don't think anybody. Well, most of them do not. I
Most
think
of them.
so. One thing I want to make sure very clear. I just don't think that my goal here is not to discourage anyone from starting the business. The goal is to understand what is it going to take and get rid of the assumptions of why I'm not wanting to start my business.
Right.
So being a small business is one thing that people say, well, I'm going to be small, who's going to hire me, who's going to want to work with me, things like that, right? So we want to get rid of that assumption.
Right.
As well as understanding that a plan of action, a strategic plan of some sort is extremely important when you're starting a business. So when you're going to go into business, understanding, plan it out, understand what that's going to look like, and kind of build a model for yourself of what you expect to come out of that, right?
Because Tabitha, you won't have assumptions.
That's correct.
Breaking the assumptions, the bottom line to it is developing a plan.
Correct.
And in developing that plan, you won't be thinking small.
Right.
You'll be thinking about this business and how we're going to grow it.
Yes.
And what it's going to take. And the assumptions will go away. So that's the end game, right?
That's how we did it. Absolutely.
That's the end game. But we had one more thing. One more thing that we wanted.
That's right. The free
ride.
There's no such thing as a free ride. So when we go into business for ourselves, it is extremely important to know that we have to work this system. We have to work the process. We have to do the work. And when people say, hey, come do a free lunch and learn, it's free to learn, but it's still work.
Yeah, because it's still not a ride.
Right. And then too, you can't expect your friends to be like, okay, well, I know I just started this business. So support is different from expecting everybody to believe that everybody's going to want my product and everybody's going to buy from me. And that's not the truth. And once you get over once you understand that that's not the truth, and it's not a free way to go, and then you have like easy street, then you will actually be able to go and conquer what you're trying to do.
You'll be able to do it because no free ride. You are actually putting your plan together,
right?
And you know exactly what it's going to cost. You know what it's going to cost. You know there's a cost to it.
Right.
And you know where you can get the money or the capital.
Right.
Or if like you say, you could be creative. Figure out ways that you can have partners.
Yes.
If you, for some reason, starting a business where people can share in the cost. Okay. If they're not going to be able, if you're not going to have people to share in that cost, then what you can do now is you can borrow. It's called business capitalization, funding a business.
Right.
And it takes care of everything. There's nothing small about that.
No.
There's no assumption. There's nothing about I'm going to work easier. I don't have to do a lot of work.
Right.
I'm just going into business, and like you said, everybody's going to buy what I got. Because, and in your plan, if you're planning, you would know who's buying and how much are they going to pay and what are they willing to pay. So there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to break through, to become successful.
Right.
Very successful for a business that starts and then it grows. You have to back to there's no free ride.
No.
No, the ride is, you can get on the ride, but I guarantee you done paid something. Look, people say, win these free tickets.
Yeah, no.
You done put some, remember the raffle? The raffle?
Yeah.
You're going to get this big old TV, 52-inch TV, with $1 raffle.
Right.
If the TV costs $500, the person who's got the raffle, they know they got to sell at least 1,000 tickets in order to give you, who spent that $1, but you still have to put in.
You have to put something, right.
And so this goes back to the concept of membership with the chamber. I often explain or express our membership position.
Right.
And our membership is based upon a 10% rule. Whatever it would cost you to get information, to get assistance in starting your business, you pay 10%.
Okay,
That's where there's no free ride.
that's correct.
You're gonna have to put something in order to get something
Something
back. And going back to the
It's a
lottery.
vending machine.
Listen, and going back to the lottery, you put a small amount in, expecting
Or
a
hoping.
huge,
Mhm.
expecting,
Mhm.
well, or you can hope, a huge amount back. So we work the same, excuse me, we work the same way.
Right,
Is you put something in, you should expect
something though.
more out than what you put in.
Right,
But a lot of times, we don't expect it because we don't work toward it.
right. Because I think in general, a lot of people don't position themselves to actually have a give and take. I think one of the first conversations I had with you was that when we talked about the fact that the expectation for a relationship or engagement, and I think a lot of people were like, "Well, I don't," even I was one of those that felt like I don't want any. I wasn't looking for anything in return. But you explained that ultimately there has to be an expectation of return.
Yes.
So you're doing it because you want to do it because you're being kind, and my return may not necessarily be what everybody expects it to be.
Oh no! Wait a minute. I'm not kind.
No, I mean, so me. That's what
Wait
you
a
said to
minute.
me.
Wait a
Like, you may be
minute.
kind, but you said, I know you're kind. You
Look,
know.
I'm having fun with the word kind.
But,
I am a human being, and I respect all human beings, and I know we have to work together.
right,
So I love people, and if I'm looking for something, I realize I have to give something
right.
in order for me to receive what I want. So when I give, it's because I'm looking for a return.
A return. So for me, that wasn't always the case. So I was like, oh no, I don't want anything in return. But I think that, actually, when having that conversation, it was that what I wanted in return was extremely simple. Something more simple than what people were naturally expecting from others in return.
Okay.
So it was, if I helped you on the side of the road, and I wanted to help you change your tire or whatever, my expectation was just a thank you and I would be fine.
Yeah,
But
because you saw that tire as a small thing.
Right. But for somebody else, they've seen it as a larger thing.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So that for them, they were like, well, no, you're going to help me with this. I'm going to give you money plus a thank you.
I'm
and
in
so
business
that's the
to change tires. Okay. So if I'm going to change your tire, this is what it's going to cost.
Right. But see, yes, but I wasn't. So for me, that's how I was. That's how I was floating through the world. So that's what it's about. The free ride or no expectation or just planning in general.
Yes.
So when we're planning for our businesses and we're planning to create something, we have to know that for this amount of money, the expectations of what we are to provide to them is there. And so
Right.
that's extremely important.
It's very important. So Tabitha, I guess the moral of the story
It is just
is that don't assume anything.
No, I think the biggest thing for me is ask questions because there is no dumb question, okay?
Correct.
Because if you don't know, then that means you need to learn.
You need to learn.
And so you have to, in order to learn, you have to at least ask the question.
You have to.
So even if you don't know, if you say, am I a small business or am I not? Do I fit the criteria? Then call and ask that person and then allow them to give you the answer so that you can stop floundering and trying to figure out whether or not it's where you fit. And then you ask people in your industry. So it should be collaboration, not competition. So your competitors will actually hold some of the answers to the questions that you have.
Even if you think you know.
Yes.
Confirm it.
Yes. And just go
By
ahead and ask the
asking
question.
Yeah.
Right?
Always
So
confirm.
you go to your competitor and you say, hey, I'm getting ready to start a business that's similar to this one. How many hours a week do you work? What does things look like, and what can I expect when starting this business? Because then that will help you. That's part of your plan, and that's helping you to understand where you are and what you're getting ready to get yourself into.
I've often shared with people, sometimes your competitor may not be as open as you would like them to be. So don't expect necessarily that they should be.
Right.
Sometimes they aren't. but you can do your homework.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit outside of Papa John's. You know what time Papa John opens up. You know what time Papa John closes.
Mm-hmm.
You can sit out in front of Papa John, have your food, your drink, your coffee, or whatever you go, and write down the number of people that go into Papa John. You'll be able to see between the lunch hour, before the lunch, and after the lunch, how many people. And you can look at the boxes. You can observe the boxes, the big box, smaller boxes.
Right.
But the deal is, don't assume that your competitor is going to give you information. You got to get the information. You have to do the work. So that goes into that 40 hours and no free ride.
Yep.
And it reminds me of when we talk about asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume. There was a commercial. Excuse me. Now that I'm being at home every day, most of the day, I see this commercial that says, this lady is asking a question. Why does a round pizza come in a square box? Have you seen that commercial yet?
No. Okay. This is going to be, I need to go look for this. Okay. What is it?
The commercial, I can't remember what caught my attention was the question that she was asking. Why does a round pizza comes in a square box?
Okay.
And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, then if you ask that question, you should want an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you finish the commercial and go find what the answer is? Because if you ask a question, you should want an answer. Don't just ask questions as a matter of thought. Because if that thought came to you, you should have. Because see, now, how would you determine why a round pizza comes in a square box?
Why? I think it's structural. Because I do believe it has something to do with the points, the corners actually provide additional support to the pizza, and that's the reason why the round pizza is in a square box.
Okay,
but
very good. That truly is the answer.
Yeah, I knew what it was, but I had never seen a commercial. But my brain works a little bit different, so I already knew what it was.
Yeah, but I think the commercial itself was giving us thought.
Yes, it was actually encouraging us to think and then to be able to ask the question.
And to get the answer.
Right.
And if we're going to ask the question,
we gotta wait for the answer.
Why ask the question?
Well, a lot of people ask rhetorical questions and you just sit there saying, but I'm so confused by that question and why that was important to say out loud. But sometimes rhetorical questions actually provoke thought. And so
now when you say rhetorical,
because sometimes people they ask questions and they really just don't want the answer to it. They're just throwing it out there just to disrupt the room.
Really?
Oh yeah, I know people. I know instigators up close and personal.
Okay, but I like situations where those kind of questions come up because it really does help the person who won't ask that question.
Right. I'm that person. I ask questions that most people won't ask.
Yeah.
It's always I would like, okay, well, I'm going to ask because I don't know, and if I don't know, then possibly other people don't know as well.
And if the thought come up, like, have we ever given thought to why a round pizza is in a square box? We never thought about that. That was never a thought.
Yeah. Because I'm not in the pizza business, though.
Well, I buy pizza.
Yeah, but I'm not in the pizza business. I don't really care.
No, it wasn't so much as the pizza business. I go and buy pizza, and they put my pizza in a square box. Mm-hmm. I never gave it any thought.
But here's now these instigating questions. But would you want your pizza in a round box?
I never gave it any thought.
Right, because
that's what I'm saying. If you ask a question, you had a thought, right?
Right, but I just asked you a question. Then I think people don't think about it because we've been conditioned to receive a round pizza in a square box. But the point, but see, if you take a look at this
Yeah.
conversation by itself,
Uh-huh.
this actually helps us to understand that the assumptions that we make
Right.
may not always be correct,
Yeah.
or they might be spot on,
Right.
but which just now we're getting confirmation for the true answer.
Right, right. Very good. I'm all for that.
That's how this works.
Okay, so this is how we gotta break the assumptions in order to be successful business owners, or even to be successful in any of our relationships. Don't
Yes.
assume.
Yes, and so it's extremely important that having assumptions actually limits our growth and our movement, right? So when we actually get rid of the assumptions and work purely on the facts and what we know to be true, then we can move more effectively
Right.
through the process.
And we
so
can
that's
plan.
Right.
And in moving through the process, you have to plan.
So
You don't just get in your car and say, I'm finna ride to Dallas.
no gas in the car, don't know what direction. Even the simple things. If you want to kick back and relax and take a bath, you gotta
plan what
you gotta plan what the time is. But one thing you have to do is preparation, right? And so preparation is at least I have to plug the tub and let the water fill up. So that is all part of planning out.
Have you ever gone anywhere? I have.
And run out of gas?
No. We're in Belize, right?
Okay.
And we're at this one particular hotel, and we get ready to go take a shower or take a bath, get ready, take clothes off, and then turn the faucet, and there's no water. We assume
yes that there's water going to come out that sink.
yes, the water's going to come into that tub, and we're going to sit there and have our nice little bath or shower or whatever. So we never go in a room in a hotel and test.
Yeah.
We never do that. We
No.
just assume that the water is going to be there. So breaking assumptions mean you have to plan, basically. And in planning, there's a lot of research
Right.
that you have to do. You have to ask questions. And you have to, some of the answers that you get may not be the correct answers, but you can also verify anything that you get.
That's just true. I agree. So that's really important to know.
Yeah.
So we got a few more minutes to go. So we want to talk about the fact that we want to talk about a few things. One is that GMT Radio has been very, very, very good about helping us to maintain our social distancing.
Yes.
And then as well as making sure that we are healthy in a healthy environment. So he has done very good about making sure that everything is wiped down, cleaned up, and that we minimize the amount of people that are actually showing up into the studio at one time. So we want to thank him for that, because that was extremely important for a lot of people to still be able to listen to their favorite shows or listen to the podcast and things like that. And so he actually went above and beyond when it came to that.
Yes.
And so that's why you'll see hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizers, covered microphones.
Mics. I got gloves on. He wipes down everything, so it's really good.
Yes.
And then, so we are practicing what has been strongly encouraged for us to do, which is stay at home as much as we can, work from home, and then when we come in here to kind of limit our exposure to others.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we understand that we're here because we made a commitment to be here, and so we're going to go ahead and uphold that, but we are going to do it in a healthy way with GMT Radio's help.
Yes.
And then the other thing is we wanted to talk about was advertising opportunities that are coming up for Tri-County Regional Black Chamber, because now we're getting ready to move over. We're going to maintain our podcast here at every Friday at 10:30 a.m. And then we're going to actually start doing the radio sometime soon, like in the next few weeks.
Well, I think it's May 4th is our target date.
We're targeting for May 4th, and so we're actually going to start doing a radio 7 a.m. to 8,
Yes.
and so
Monday through Friday.
So you get
no
to hear
Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, no, so because all small businesses need a little break, but we have some advertising opportunities for all of those people who are listening or will listen in the future. So the one thing part of breaking the assumption is that business has stopped moving because of this current virus.
Well, I kind of differ.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, that is an assumption.
That is
You're
an
right.
assumption. A lot of people believe that because people are working from home that they are really not working. that is an assumption that needs to be taken away, because that is not true.
Right.
Now, maybe some of the robocalls have stopped. Thank you very much. But
Okay.
but businesses are still open for business. They're just doing business slightly different. So for those reasons, for those people who are online sales and are doing business from home, and I mean, all businesses have been impacted by this virus. So it's extremely important to know that there are still advertising spots, slots, and possible things for us to do to help. So
Right.
you want to share with everyone what some of the opportunities are for advertising on the radio and podcast.
Yes. So we do have a Let's Talk Business radio show that will debut May 4th, 2020. And we're planning, and that's what all our businesses should be doing right now. And especially if you are a business that fit into the criteria where you're making less than $20 million a year, and you, if you're making less than that, and your personal net worth is not over 1.3 million, so you should continue to do business and start planning. I know there's a lot of money that's being talked about, and the plan now is, what are you planning to do with the money?
Right.
It's for you to continue to operate your business in a different manner or in a different way, but business has not stopped. We live in a capitalistic society, free enterprise, and it is
Free
not
enterprise.
going free enterprise, right?
Correct. Free.
And it's based that free enterprise.
It's not really
Let's get the
free.
word free right. It is based on the
Availability.
The foundation is competition.
Correct.
And if you're looking for free, you're not competitive. Okay.
So
So
what does free really get you? So
well,
people really need to think
free is a mindset.
Yes.
Free is different, I think, for everybody. So what we're trying to say is, if you're starting a business, you need to plan.
correct. And so what are we gonna plan?
Yeah, we got to plan. So you got to reach your customers. You got to know who they are. And one of the things that you want to be able to plan for is advertising.
Right.
How do we know what advertising is. You are dealing with what we call capitalism, with a foundation is based on free enterprise.
Right.
Free enterprise, capitalism is free enterprise based on competition.
Right.
So now, if you want people to know what it is that you do,
Mm-hmm.
you have to let them know. So we have different medias that we can get the information out to.
Mm-hmm.
One is radio, then you have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, but what is going to be the one that you choose to be able to get your information out to more people at one time? But again, all advertising requires frequency.
Right.
So what we're prepared to do for our members is that they can save money by advertising on Let's Talk Business radio show.
Okay.
And we have an introductory offer, so we have 30 days now
Right.
before our show begins for you to start planning what you're going to do in advertising, and it's called a marketing aspect
Right.
of your business plan. And so we say with introductory costs for 3 months would be $125 a month for a member, and $150 for a non-member.
Mhm.
Now that's only for the first
3 months.
3 months that introductory offer takes place. After that, it necessarily will go up,
Right.
and we will be able to provide more information, time frames. What do you get if you reach out to us?
Mhm.
So you can send us an email
Right.
at info
And
at tcbcc.org.
Mhm.
You can also go to our website, which is Tri-County Regional Black Chamber
Okay.
.org. That's Tri-County Regional Black Chamber.org, and go to contact us
Okay.
and let us know if you're interested in advertising, and we can give you a lot more information. Feel free to call us. However, since our office hours have changed based upon social distancing and stay home and stay healthy. We will be responding back to calls within 24 hours with the information that you'll need. So let's work together so that we can help you prepare for what is going to be a new way
of doing business.
New way of doing business, because business is not going to stop.
Yes.
It has not stopped. Tabitha, have you seen how many people are buying groceries now?
Yeah, I know.
They didn't buy them. You know, everybody was being frugal, right? When they had money.
Right.
Now that it looks like we ain't got no more money. You heard what I said. We ain't got no more money. Everybody's spending money. I have not seen anybody stop spending money. Have you?
No.
And
I
I've
have,
seen
though,
business.
Yeah.
No, you haven't stopped spending money.
I ain't been outside.
That's like you haven't stopped spending money.
No, I haven't.
We are looking for this money to come so that we can do what?
Do business.
Do business, not just spend,
right.
but to do business for those who will be spending. In business, you got to have a consumer.
Right.
You are considered a producer.
Mm-hmm.
As a producer, you're going to produce your product or your services, no matter what that is. If you're a consultant, you're going to produce that. You have to produce it, and you have to have a consumer.
Right.
So if you do not have a consumer, now's the time for you to start planning on that consumer. Don't you wind up being the consumer, because you will be out of business. Consumers, now we are consumers, although we're business owners.
Yeah.
We are also consumers when we buy or utilize or pay for services or products that we did not produce.
Right. So then that's good, because customer acquisition costs, right? And part of that is marketing dollars.
You must
so
market.
if we go ahead, if we invite anybody who's in business and wants to advertise, to contact Tri-County Regional
Correct.
for advertising opportunities. And so there are a ton of them available. One is through the radio, one's through a podcast, and we also have business spotlight opportunities
Right.
for different businesses, and that's their choice. But they just really need to reach out.
And networking.
And
Because we
network.
work with we have strategic partners. They have not stopped doing business.
Right. They have not. They
Metro has not stopped doing business. The state of Texas has not shut down.
No.
No,
Actually,
they're
the
still
United States
there.
is not shut down.
Like Tabitha said, there's new ways of getting the services out.
Right.
There's new ways of selling your product.
Right.
And it's really not, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right.
Okay, so there's we're not talking about new ways, we're just talking about additional ways, because if you have a product, that product can be sold through the internet.
Right. Yes.
And
that's
then
exactly online.
And let me tell you, we have a few members who are doing delivery services, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you see how the delivery service business has boomed?
Yep. So there's a few companies who've actually benefited, strangely enough, from this virus, right?
Yeah.
So, and it just forces us to just kind of take a look at how we do business and how we can pivot inside of our business.
And how we can be competitive.
Right, for other
Yes, and being competitive has nothing, you cannot be competitive using assumptions.
Right, this is true.
Get away from the assumptions. Let's break those assumptions. Be competitive. Do business. It has nothing to do with the coronavirus.
Right.
It has something to do with the economy.
Right.
Okay?
So
let's get it done.
So there we are. So that's what we have. So we break a few assumptions today, and hopefully we've been able to help our listeners to be able to do that and remove that limiting thoughts. So I thank you very much for hanging out with me.
I love coming up here sometimes.
Sometimes. I know you'd be running away from me.
Yes, I do.
So we're going to go ahead and thank our sponsors. Southwest Airlines, proud air travel sponsor of Tri-County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, and we also like to thank Primacor Solutions. So
and what I like to say, we basically know what Southwest Airlines does, but also Primacor Business Solutions is a staffing
company.
And right now, I'm sure they have a lot of requests for
that's right.
employees.
Work from home,
yes.
businesses. So if anybody wants to take a look at the website and
yes.
And then reach out to them and find out if they are in need of a position or a job or something like
Right.
that. They should just go ahead and reach
Right.
out and
Right.
find out, because there's a lot of companies out there looking for staff.
Yes, and Southwest Airlines has informed us that they are still going to be flying.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to limit their destinations based on customer demands,
Okay.
but they have not shut down.
Okay.
So
that's good.
we're
So
good.
we know.
And
So-
the chamber,
Yes.
Tri-County
And-
Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, we have not shut down.
Nobody has really shut down. It's just a figment of our imagination.
We assume they have.
The assumption.
Yes.
So thank you very much for listening and tuning in to Let's Talk Business podcast with Tri-County Regional Black Chamber. And thank you and have a great and healthy day.
Yes. Bye.